All right, today we're diving deep into debt collection.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
It is, actually, but not just anywhere. We're going to Spain.
Spain, okay.
And you might be surprised to learn that navigating debt collection there can be pretty straightforward, especially with a system called the Proceso Monitorio.
Proceso Monitorio. It sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, so what's really fascinating about this is it can be incredibly simple and efficient.
I like the sound of simple.
You know, imagine a legal system where you can get a court order to actually collect a debt without having to go through a full-blown trial.
So no drawn-out courtroom drama.
Exactly, and that's what the Proceso Monitorio is all about.
It seems very user-friendly.
It is, so it sounds almost too good to be true.
Yeah, a little bit. So what is it exactly?
So break it down for us. What is the Proceso Monitorio?
Well, think of it as this legal fast track designed specifically for reclaiming those unpaid debts.
So like a shortcut through the legal maze.
Exactly. It's a streamlined way to avoid those traditional lawsuits, which we all know can be incredibly time-consuming and a huge headache, not to mention expensive.
Absolutely. And I imagine this is especially helpful for businesses who are dealing with, those unpaid invoices that just pile up. So instead of getting bogged down in a long court battle, this helps resolve things much faster, which is a big deal.
Massive. And what's really cool about this is that it applies to monetary debts.
Okay.
Deudas dinerarias.
Deudas dinerarias.
As they call it in Spain.
Yeah.
And it applies to any amount.
Oh, wow.
Any amount. So whether you're dealing with a small unpaid invoice, like for freelance work, or even a large international sale gone wrong, the Proceso Monitorio really provides that clear pathway to get what you're owed.
That's fantastic. That's a great safety net for businesses to have.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious about the process itself.
Okay.
How does this whole thing actually work? What are the steps involved in this, what we've been calling it, this debt collection recipe?
It's a pretty simple recipe, actually.
Okay, good.
So let's say you're the creditor.
Okay.
You're the one who's owed the money.
Right.
The first step is to file a petition with the court.
Okay.
In the debtor's location.
That makes sense. Keep it local. But what needs to be in this petition?
It's really not a ton of paperwork.
Okay, good.
You basically need to outline who owes what.
Okay.
The exact amount and the reason behind it.
Makes sense. So, is it an unpaid invoice, a loan?
Exactly. Just to give context to the whole situation.
Got it. So you need those details about the agreement between you and the debtor.
Right. Because the court needs that full picture.
So it sounds like even in those, informal exchanges, clear communication and good documentation are still key.
Absolutely. You never know when an email or a text message might come back to be really important later.
Those can really come back to bite you.
They do.
So, good point. So speaking of documentation, the source we're looking at really emphasizes that you need rock-solid evidence.
Yes, rock-solid.
To back up your claim.
It's vital.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
What constitutes rock-solid evidence?
Well, think of it as building a really strong case.
Right.
Brick by brick.
I like that analogy.
So invoices are absolutely crucial.
Okay.
Make sure they're detailed, dated, and they clearly show those agreed upon terms.
Right. No ambiguity.
Exactly. Delivery receipts can also be very powerful.
Especially if they show that the goods or services were actually received.
Right. Proof of delivery.
It's all about that paper trail.
Absolutely. And of course, signed agreements are ideal.
Yeah, of course.
But even emails or telegrams where the debtor actually acknowledged the debt, those can be valuable pieces of evidence as well.
Yeah, so it's not just about having those formal contracts.
Right.
Even those seemingly casual exchanges can make a difference.
They can. So save those email chains.
Always document. Always document.
So good advice. And here's an interesting detail that the source highlighted.
Okay, what's that?
Previous business dealings between the parties can actually be used as evidence, too.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if there's a history of transactions and payments that actually strengthens your claim.
Yeah, because it shows a pattern.
Exactly. So this really emphasizes the importance of maintaining good records and clear communication.
From the start.
From the start.
It's like laying a good foundation for your business relationships.
It's like that preventative legal care.
Exactly.
So good record keeping, your best friend.
It is.
So, okay, we've got our petition. We have all the evidence.
Yes.
What happens next? Does the debtor just automatically have to pay?
Not so fast.
Okay.
Remember, the system is designed to be fair.
Okay.
So once the court receives your petition,
right,
they're going to officially notify the debtor.
Think of it as that certified you've got mail notice.
Okay.
But instead of mail, it's more like pay up.
Pay up. I like that.
They then have 20 business days to respond.
All right, 20 business days. The clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking.
So the debtor has been served. What happens next?
Well, they don't necessarily have to pay up right away.
Okay.
This is where the processo monitorio gets really strategic.
Ooh, strategic. I like it.
Because the debtor now has some choices to make.
Okay, please.
And each one comes with different consequences.
This is where it gets really interesting.
It does.
So lay out those options for us.
Right.
What are the debtor's possible moves?
So they've got options. Well, the easiest option, obviously, is just to pay the debt.
Yeah, makes sense.
Case closed. Everyone's happy. But it's not always that simple, right?
Right, of course not. So what happens if the debtor thinks, wait a minute, I don't owe this money?
Okay, yeah.
Or there's some kind of mistake? Can they just ignore the court notice?
Ignoring it. That's the worst thing they could do.
Yeah.
It's like playing chess and saying checkmate before you've even moved your king.
Okay, bad move.
Yeah, because if they ignore the notice, the court can actually issue a decree that allows you, the creditor, to start seizing their assets.
Oh, wow. So things can escalate pretty quickly.
Yeah, it can get messy.
So silence is not golden in this situation?
Definitely not. It's always better to respond.
Even if you think the claim is wrong.
Right, exactly.
You've got to be proactive.
Because they have that 20 business day window to respond to the court.
Right, right.
And during that time, they have a couple of different options.
Okay.
They can file a formal opposition to the debt.
Okay, so that's like saying, I'm fighting this.
Exactly. And then that would actually move the case into a regular trial.
So that's where it could potentially get more expensive.
Right. It could turn into that drawn-out legal battle.
Like a traditional lawsuit.
Yeah. But even if that happens, the processo monitorio still gives you an advantage.
Oh, how so?
Because the debtor had to actively oppose the debt, it puts more of the burden of proof on their shoulders to show why they shouldn't have to pay.
So it kind of flips the script a little bit?
It does. It streamlines things, even if it ends up going to trial.
That's an interesting nuance. So even if it doesn't resolve right away, it still helps streamline the whole process.
You can, yeah.
Interesting. So that's, if they oppose it, what's the other option?
Well, they could also try to reach an agreement with the creditor directly.
Okay. So more of a negotiation.
Exactly. Like, okay, I acknowledge the debt, but maybe we can work out a payment plan.
Right, right.
Or settle for a smaller amount.
So there's room for compromise and working things out.
Right.
Exactly. That's good. So this system kind of encourages that communication.
It does. It incentivizes finding a solution that actually works for both sides.
That's a much better outcome than just, going head-to-head in court.
For sure. But, like any negotiation, it depends on whether both sides are willing to budge a little.
Absolutely. You've got to have that give and take.
You do.
So, okay, we're talking about court orders. We're talking about potentially seizing assets.
Yeah.
It sounds a little intense. Do you always need a lawyer for this?
That's a good question.
Especially if you're maybe a smaller business or an individual?
Yeah, so for smaller debts, especially under 2,000 euros, it's often possible to handle the initial stages on your own.
Okay, so you don't necessarily need to lawyer up right away?
Not right away. The forms are pretty straightforward, and like we said, the process is designed to be accessible.
That's good to know. Makes it a little less intimidating.
It does.
But I imagine having a lawyer could still be beneficial, right?
Oh, absolutely. Having a lawyer, especially one that specializes in debt collection, can be a huge advantage.
I bet.
Because they can make sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
Yeah, following all the procedures.
Right. Presenting the right evidence, understanding all the legal nuances.
And if it does go to trial...
Especially if it goes to trial.
You'll definitely want someone in your corner.
You definitely want an experienced lawyer.
Yeah. So it's a system that tries to find that balance.
I think so.
Between simplicity and then that legal expertise.
Yeah, it's a good mix.
When things get more complex.
Right, and it really highlights something we've talked about before.
What's that?
Documentation.
Always.
If your paperwork's not organized, your claim could get dismissed.
Wow, even if you have a legitimate debt.
Even if it's legitimate, so detailed invoices, clear communication, organized records.
They're your allies.
They're your best friends in this process.
It's like preventative legal care.
It is. It's like flossing for your business.
I like that. So good record keeping can save you a lot of trouble down the road.
So much trouble. Preventative care is always the best.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the processo monitorio.
We have.
But let's zoom out a little bit.
Okay, bigger picture.
Bigger picture. This is a Spanish system, right?
It is.
But it offers some really valuable lessons.
Yeah.
For anyone involved in business anywhere in the world.
Globally, yeah.
So what kind of lessons are we talking about here?
Well, for one, it really highlights how important it is to have clear legal pathways.
Okay.
For debt collection, a lot of countries have these really complex legal procedures.
Yeah, they can be a nightmare.
They can be a nightmare, especially for small businesses.
Absolutely.
And the processo monitorio shows that you can have a system that's efficient and accessible.
Okay.
Without sacrificing fairness.
It's like that Goldilocks zone.
Exactly, finding that sweet spot.
Not too complicated, not too lenient, just right?
Just right. And, it's model other countries could learn from.
Yeah, adapt it to their own legal system.
Exactly. Take the good parts and make it work for them.
So it's about finding that balance.
Always balance.
It also underscores, again, we've said it before, strong documentation practices.
So important.
This applies to every business.
Everywhere, yeah.
All sizes, all over the world. Having clear contracts, detailed invoices, good record keeping.
From day one.
It makes a huge difference if you need to collect a debt.
Massive.
Whether you're in Spain, the U.S., Japan, wherever.
Anywhere. It's a universal truth.
It's a universal lesson, yeah.
Be organized.
Be prepared, especially when it comes to legalities.
For sure.
Okay, so we've looked at it from the creditor's side.
Yes.
But let's flip the script for a moment.
Okay.
Imagine we're the debtor.
All right, put ourselves in their shoes.
What are some things they need to be aware of?
Good point.
What are some pitfalls they might encounter?
Let's think about that. Well, I think the biggest thing is don't just ignore it.
Yeah.
Don't bury your head in the sand.
Right.
It might be tempting to just toss that pay-up notice.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. Pretend it never happened.
Right.
But that's a surefire way to get into even more trouble.
Okay.
Because remember, if you don't respond within those 20 business days, the court can issue a default order. And that basically gives the green light for the creditor to start taking action.
Oh, that's not good.
Not good. It's like ignoring a parking ticket.
Right.
It's only going to get worse.
It just snowballs.
It snowballs. Yeah. Exactly.
So even if you think the debt is wrong or there's a mistake,
absolutely,
you have to respond to the court.
You have to engage with the process.
Okay.
Even if you disagree with the claim.
Right. Be proactive about it.
Be proactive. Remember, you have options.
Okay, good.
If you genuinely believe you don't owe the money,
right,
you can file that formal opposition.
Okay.
Which then triggers that regular court case.
Right, right.
Or you can try to negotiate a settlement.
Okay.
Or a payment plan with the creditor directly.
So it's about understanding your rights and then choosing the best strategy.
Exactly. Taking control of the situation.
Right, right. And that's where I imagine having some legal knowledge, or maybe even better, getting advice from a lawyer can be really helpful.
Invaluable, yeah.
Yeah, because they can help you navigate all the nuances.
All those little details.
Of the processo monitorio.
Right, and Spanish law.
And Spanish law, right?
They can assess the strength of the creditor's claim.
Okay.
Advise you on the best course of action.
It's like having that expert guide.
It is. They can help you gather evidence to support your side of the story.
Right.
Negotiate with the creditor.
Okay.
Represent you in court if necessary.
So while the system is designed to be simple, there are definitely times when
for sure
you might want that professional help.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if the debt is contested.
Right.
Or if there are complex legal issues.
Right. Or if you just feel overwhelmed by the whole process.
Definitely don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. Don't go it alone if you don't have to.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've talked about the processo monitorio.
We've covered a lot.
We've looked at it from both sides.
From all angles.
But now I want to shift gears just a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about something that's becoming increasingly relevant.
In today's world.
What's that?
The impact of technology.
Ooh, interesting.
On debt collection.
Yeah. How's that changing things?
It's changing everything. So how is technology changing the game when it comes to debt collection?
Well, I think
both in Spain and around the world.
I mean, just think about it. We live in this digital age.
Everything's online.
Everything's online. Court filings, communication, data collection.
Right. It's all happening digital.
It's all digital.
So these advancements are definitely having an impact on debt collection.
Big time.
So it's not just about sending out those
old-fashioned letters.
Yeah, the pay-up notices in the mail.
Right, the snail mail is slowing down.
Exactly.
Technology is making it so much easier and faster for creditors to initiate claims, track debtors, enforce judgments.
It's streamlining the whole process.
It's streamlining it. You see all these online platforms popping up.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That automates a lot of the debt collection process.
Oh, wow. From sending payment reminders to even generating legal documents.
So it's becoming more and more automated.
It is very efficient.
Yeah, that sounds super efficient.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides to this?
That's a good question because...
Could this increased reliance on technology make things less fair?
Potentially.
Or less transparent for debtors?
That is a valid concern.
Yeah.
One risk is that these automated systems might not always be accurate or fair.
Okay.
Like, let's say a debt collection algorithm is based on bad data.
Right.
It could lead to wrongful claims or unfair treatment.
So it's like those automated customer service chatbots?
Exactly.
That sometimes just get things completely wrong. And you're like, I just want to talk to a human.
I need a human.
Right.
And then there's the issue of data privacy and security.
Oh, of course.
Because with more personal data being collected and used for debt collection, there are concerns about how that information is being handled and protected.
Right. So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. Technology can be great.
Right.
But we have to be mindful of the risks as well.
Yeah. So while technology can be a great tool for debt collection,
for sure,
it's important to use it responsibly.
Responsibly and ethically.
And to have those safeguards in place.
Absolutely. You need strong consumer protection laws and regulations to protect the rights of debtors.
Right. Especially in this increasingly digital world.
It's more important than ever.
It's all about finding that balance.
Always balance.
Between leveraging technology for efficiency.
Right.
But also making sure that justice and fairness are maintained.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. It's been a fascinating dive.
It has. We've explored the processo monitorio from all these different angles.
All the angles.
From its history to its potential future.
The past, the present, the future.
In a digital age.
We've gone deep.
We've gone deep. We've looked at the procedures. The strategic choices, the ethical considerations.
It's a complex system.
It's complex, but it's also fascinating.
It is.
And hopefully this deep dive has given our listener some valuable insights.
Some takeaways.
Into the world of debt collection in Spain.
Hopefully.
But also, I hope it sparked a broader curiosity.
I think so.
About how law, technology, and human relationships...
They're all intertwined.
Are all intertwined, and how they shape our world.
Big questions.
Big questions. And we always encourage our listeners to keep exploring these topics.
To keep learning.
To ask questions, to engage in those informed discussions.
Well, because knowledge is power.
Absolutely. And understanding the law empowers us.
It does.
To navigate all the complexities of life.
And business.
And business, yeah.
With confidence and clarity.
And compassion.
Absolutely. And with that thought, I think we'll say goodbye for now.
Until next time, keep those legal wheels turning.
And we'll be back soon with more fascinating insights.
Into the world of law and business.